another Cleverdix podcast. This podcast is going to be a bit different. On the 29th of November, there's going to be a charity swim, a 12 by 1 mile event where we're trying to raise some funds for mental health. And we're going to be supporting the I Am Hope charity. I Am Hope is the brainchild of Mike King. And this podcast, we're talking to Mike. We talked to him about the reasons that he set up his charity and what I Am Hope does for New Zealanders and how it supports mental health in New Zealand. Mike has done some swims, although he wouldn't classify himself as a swimmer. So we talk about that a bit as well. And he has promised to come along to the charity event and do at least some swimming. So the charity swim, if you want to enter, is going to be at swimscape.co.nz. And if you want to know more about Mike's charity, it is iamhope.org.nz. Here we go. Enjoy the chat with Mike King. Welcome to another Cleverdix podcast. In this podcast, we're talking to Mike King. Welcome, Mike.
Another Cleverdick.
Well, it seems a bit appropriate. So quite often we start off this podcast, mostly we interview people who've done a lot of swimming. And maybe you haven't done as much as some of our
I haven't, but there's a story behind that.
But what we want is your story.
So I've never been much of a swimmer. So when I was a kid, I grew up out in a place called Whenuapai Village, and I was born with holes in both eardrums. So I was born in 1962. The medical world wasn't where it is today. And so what they used to do with kids is they would take a graft of skin from behind the ear, place it over the eardrum, and you would be stuck in hospital for 6 weeks with this giant ear muff and plugs all the way in. And at the end of the 6 weeks, and you're staying in the hospital for 6 weeks, so it was horrible for a kid away from the family and everything. Then they would take it off and they'd pull out the cotton wool in your ear, and suddenly I could hear sounds that I'd never heard before. Incredible. And then they would make you hold your nose and blow. And for the first 3 operations, I'd blow the skin graft off the eardrum, and they go, "Oh well, we'll do it again."
Oh really?
Seriously?
Another 6 weeks?
Go away, come back, have another operation, stay in hospital for 6 weeks. So I wasn't allowed near the water until I was 12 years old. And by that stage, it was just a swimming pool. I wasn't a capable swimmer. I remember the first time at swimming school, they said, "Can you swim?" "Oh, hell yeah, I can swim." And so I had to swim the length of a 25-metre pool. I just didn't take a breath. Just made it right at the end, and they went, "No, you're in the learners." "What the fuck are you on about?" "Oh, I made it."
Yeah.
Like, "You're not breathing." "Yes, I am. I breathed when I got to the end." So yeah, me and swimming had a love-hate relationship. So every summer I was that kid that would just lie at the poolside and perv on all the girls. That was, that was me. So
that's a skill set, though.
So
it's important work. Somebody's got to do it, right?
I love summer. I love the water, but I guess that scarred me, that fact that I wasn't as good as everyone else. And I'm one of those people that if I can't do it better than someone, I ain't doing it. If I can't be better than average, I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Because my competitive spirit won't let me. So swimming was never going to be my thing, so screw swimming.
Yeah. So
fast track, I don't know, 30 years or something like that, and you landed up swimming a charity event together with Rick Wells.
Fast track, 48 years.
48 years, okay.
48 years. Rick Wells. He said, "Oh, we're gonna raise some money for your charity," and I said, "Oh yeah, cool. So what sort of thing do you have planned?" "We're going to do a triathlon, and we're going to triathlon from Cape Reinga down to Wellington, swimming, riding, and running." I said, "Cool. That's and we're going to raise some money for your charity." I said, "Awesome. So whatever you need, resourcing, posters, anything you need, I got." He goes, "No, you're doing it with us." And I was like, "Bro, I can't even swim." And he said, "I'll teach you." I said, bro, you're onto a loser here. There's no way in hell. So the first lesson that I went to was at Newmarket Pool, and Rick made me swim 25 metres. So, I had my, my beach shorts on, down to the knees. And,
Baggies.
Yeah, the baggies. And, I jumped in the water, and at one point, both arms were facing backwards towards my feet at the same time.
Aquaman.
Well, apparently they're not supposed to be like that, One's supposed to be forward and the other one's supposed to be rolling over. Anyway, I got to the end and I barely made it 25 metres. Seriously, I've got the video of it. And at the end, I was reaching about 1.5 meters early to the wall and just trying to get, and that was it. I was shattered. I had to get out. And he goes, oh, well, we've got a little bit to work on. And so over the next year, 9 months really, he just kept getting me in that pool and just kept me going. So I'm one of those, my body mass is different from everybody else. So I look like, I'm quite lean and I look like I weigh about 85 to 87 kg, where I'm 110.
No ways.
Big bones.
Wow.
Big bones. So even when I was playing rugby, I used to be that skinny fella at first five and, loose forwards, and everyone else would wonder how the hell I could bump them off. So I got really heavy bones. And what that meant was I would sink.
Yeah.
Like, the first thing they teach you is to lie on your back. Yeah. And as soon as that happens, my feet just drop to the bottom. No matter what I do, they just drop down, and so I said, look, this is going to be a problem. So Rick put me in those wetsuit pants.
Cheat shorts.
Yeah.
Wednesday shorts,
yeah. Put me in those, and that helped a little bit, but I was still planing through the water, feet down, and then he encouraged me to wear flippers. And the flippers were the thing, were a game changer. Suddenly I felt like I was doing it right.
Yep.
And it's really interesting. You think, I watched all the videos online and, I thought I was doing it perfectly. And then Rick would film me and I'd go, oh my God, how embarrassing. And he kept saying, your head's down. My head is fucking down. Look, it's in the water. Like my face is wet, bro. The head's down, man. What are you talking about? And like, I noticed what he was talking about when I saw it on the film. It's kind of like, either you play golf?
No.
Very occasionally.
Well, it's like when you play a massive golf shot and you think, Jesus, that has to have looked like Tiger Woods. It was so good. And then your mates, I got that on film. And then you look at it, you fuck, erase it, just erase it. It's the worst, ugliest, arms going everywhere. And that was the same with my swimming.
My golf expertise is the same as your swimming expertise.
Yeah. So, the hard part for me was looking down at the bottom. Looking down at the bottom of the pool, I really struggle with that because, I have a great fear of sharks. So I was brought up in the 70s when Jaws came out. So even in the bath, all I hear is dun dun dun.
Going to break through the walls.
And I'd say to Rick, I go, mate, every time, I'm swimming, I hear the theme from Jaws. And what do you mean? I go, dun dun dun. He goes, oh, don't worry about it. You only have to worry when you hear dun 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 dun. And then the other thing he told me, he goes, it's so refreshing, like the water. You don't have to think about anything. It's just one arm in front of the other. Just follow that black line. It's so soothing. I've got an overactive mind. Yeah. My mind does not stop. So, there is no such thing. When he said, look at the black line, what black line? Well, there's only one black line down there. Look at it, moron. It's right there. Why do you always say, well, shut up. I'm trying to swim. These were the things I couldn't relax. So it was a real struggle for me. And then getting into the ocean. But the game changer was my wife. I bought her a paddle board, and she doesn't use it like a stand-up. We put a seat on it.
Oh, yeah.
And she'd paddle beside me. So I'd just be swimming and, my daughter and wife would be on the thing. So we went out to Maraidai and just started out a couple of 100 meters. Before I knew it, I was swimming from one end to the other, past, to the wharf and back. Or then I look at my thing, that's 1.86 kilometers. Shit, I should have done another 140. Right down. I want to swim back down the other end, right down the other end. And then I come back and I go, oh, damn, it was 2.2. I should have gone to, so numbers got me. And then I'd be at the pool and I'd put it on. I bought an Apple Watch. Yeah. So I'm doing the links there. And then, like you sometimes on the podcast, I forgot to push the go button. And I look and like I'd already done 500, right? I've done half a kilometre, but if it's not on the watch, it didn't count. Yes. And I have to do 2 kilometres. So now I'm doing 2.5 kilometres and I'm constantly beating myself up. But, I grew up in West Auckland, but my people are from up in Russell, out in a little place called Rafferty, and so Paihia was kind of like my town. And, as a kid growing up, I always used to look Paihia to Russell and go, oh, I'd love to be able to swim that. I'd love to be able, and there was no way in hell I could do it. And on my 60th birthday,
you did it?
Yeah, I did. 59th birthday.
4.5 kilometres, I think, 5 kilometres.
Yeah, well, because, we're rat shit at direction. It was a bit further, and so me and my old mate, there was an old boy on the tour there, old Davey, we swam together, and, so we saw them, we go, come on, Dave, fuck them, let's go, mate. So we're going, and, we'd have got a kilometre head start on them, and stupidly we thought, wow, this is going really well, and we get to the wharf, it's like, wow, look at this one. We're nearly, and look up, and those guys are all up there dressed, having a beer. Didn't even feel them.
You did it, though.
Yeah, I did it. And then the next day, when I was 19 years old, I shipped out in the Merchant Navy. Yep. And one of the first ships that I was sailed on was called the Amakura. It was a tanker. So we were anchored at Marsden Point. And then the next day there was the opportunity to swim from Whangarei Heads to Marsden Point across the...
That's huge.
Yeah, so I was like, right, I'm up for that. And... Well, there was a miscommunication. So our lifesaver, the guy on the jet ski, he was late. By the time he got there, the tide had turned. And anyway, we're swimming. I'm in there for about a good 45 minutes. And every time I look up at my reference point, I keep looking at this reference. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually mimicking swimming here. And my head's still not in the water.
Yeah,
so anyway,
and
I'm looking at this bloody tree, and it hasn't moved for 45 minutes. So the jet ski guy's right beside me. He goes, get on. I go, you're not going anywhere. Get on. So he had to take us about 2 kilometres down the road. And I didn't realise how strong the tide was until we were going past those big poles in the middle of the, those, I don't know what they're called, in the middle of the ocean.
We just call them poles.
Green stick, red stick.
Yeah, red stick. Yeah, they're that thing, the port and the bow side, the ship markers.
Yeah.
And the wake coming off those was incredible. Yeah. So he took us all the way down, and then we were able to swim back like it was a float on your back. But
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we got rescued the very next day, and then I was on Map My Walk for the whole thing, and it was on my phone, so I've got it tracked. And what happens is we swam out, and we immediately got pushed out to the middle, and then we're actually going backwards as we were swimming, and then we got towed up. But no one made it across except Rick and one other guy. Ian Jones even caught a lift back, and Ian does triathlons.
He's a strong dude.
He's a strong
and
swimmer,
so he got dragged back. Rick pulled up about 40 minutes after us, and even he said that was the hardest swim of his life. Yeah. But they swam directly to the tankers and then got as close to the shore as they could to finish it off. Yeah. But he said at one point he grabbed one of those things and, one of the markers. The lane markers. Yeah. So that was my swimming experience. I had one more swim from there, and that was across Wellington Harbour. And when I say Wellington Harbour, I only mean from the pool on Oriental Parade across to the museum. So it wasn't a giant swim, but fuck, it was cold.
Yeah, it is pretty chilly down there,
It was
right?
cold, yeah. So no, that's the length of that's the summary of my swimming experience. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a great form of fitness. I remember, I'd say to Ricky, how's it going? Because I'd text them all my days. I'd try and do 2K a day. And at the local pool in Papatoetoe, 50-metre outside pool. And I would text them and I'd go, I got a sore shoulder. Your technique's wrong. I go, what? He goes, thing with swimming, if anything aches, your technique's wrong. So he'd give me a little wee tweak on the technique and I'd have to start again.
Off you go.
Yep.
Did you find a difference between swimming in a pool, fresh water, as opposed to being in the ocean?
Oh, yeah, ocean's easier.
Yeah.
Ocean was much, much easier. And it's less boring because you're worrying about sharks. That's all I do. I got to a point, true story, I got to a point where I was so comfortable. So I, went over to Raro and I'd swim 5K a day.
Yeah.
Along the beach.
That's big, man.
Yeah. And then, the first time I swam on Waiheke, I did 3 kilometres there. First time I've ever had sea life swim up underneath me. A stingray. I fucking shit myself. I truly shit myself. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I'm just looking at this thing and I just swam off.
Yeah.
Another time I was at Orewa and I was swimming from one end of Orewa from the camp right down to the cliff and back. Yeah. And I'm swimming along. I see half a snapper still flickering, half a snapper. I was like, okay.
Where's the other half?
Yeah. And it was a bite, I was like, okay, so these are the little...
Well, we had a mate and I were swimming along and this paddleboarder comes and says, I don't want to disturb you, but there's a bronzy over there. Well, if you didn't want to disturb us, why didn't you keep quiet?
So it was an interesting journey, but I really did enjoy it. But it was very challenging. So I really liked the ocean swimming. My wife was quite disturbed by it because I'm old. I've had a couple of strokes in my life. I've had a couple of heart procedures. Yep. So she's like, when I don't turn up. So she bought me one of those little wee bobby things that sits out the back so she could watch me.
Toe float. Yep.
Yeah, like in like Orewa, for example, I was gone for a good 2 hours. Yep. I mean, it looks so easy, that swim. Yeah, but it's tough. 2 kilometres down to one end and 2 kilometres. And I'm the type of guy, I pick a rock and I have to get and touch it. I can't just go and get 100 metres away and swim back. I've got to get to where I've got to complete it. So one time there, I'm swimming back and her and my mate are on the beach and I'm going, and I could see I said, what's up? She goes, you've been gone for ages. How dare you? Man. I'm like,
panicking, couldn't find you.
Yeah. So, she bought me one of those floaties, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so, they are good. It helps with the visibility. Yeah. So we're looking at doing a charity swim to support your charity coming up. I was maybe you could just
No, you've agreed beforehand, Mike. You said you were going to come in a budgie smuggler and
Before we get there, so maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the charity and then we'll convince you to join us.
Charity's great. That's all you need to know. No. I know your real purpose, and it's an H to the E to the double L, no. Anyway, so the charity. So... our charity's been going since 2009. We've had 3 iterations of the charity. The first iteration was the charity was called the Nutters Club. So back in 2007, I gave up drugs and alcohol. Finally went and saw a counsellor and acknowledged that, this little voice in my head was annoying me. And when I say voice, it's not a voice. It's just that, that little voice of doubt, that little voice that tells you you're not good enough. Now, I've had that from childhood. My dad was a good good sportsman, musician, good looking, could do all of those things, you know. I was 4'11", buck teeth, big ears, rubber lips, couldn't play an instrument, useless at sports. I was hopeless at everything. So I never, you know, I always felt like I was a disappointment to my dad. My brother, you know, he was a solid kid, really good at art, good at carving, anything. You know, he was, you know, he got a nickname. He got the nickname Butch. I got to mow the lawns. You know, that was the sort of thing I hitchhiked to my sports games. The old man used to take my brother to his sports games. Yeah. All of those sorts of things. So I finally acknowledged, you know, so because I had no self-esteem, I would get my self-esteem from the approval of others. And, you know, I always dreamt of being rich and famous. Why? Because famous people, everyone loves them. And every young person, everyone loves famous people, and money gives you choice. You can do whatever you like if you know. And so when I finally did on the 1,000,000 to 1 shot, by being starting the stand-up comedy industry, and in New Zealand there wasn't any stand-up comedians. When I was in the Merchant Navy, you know, I travel all around the world, so I'd get to see, you know, film of stand-up comedians. And so you know, and I always wanted to be a comedian, even as a kid. So when I pursued my comedy career, I finally got it. You know, it was kind of like, you know, it's like, fame to me was like those, you know, those golden gates where you metaphorically go through these golden gates, and, you know, you're in a ticker tape parade and everyone's cheering your name, and, you know, and that was supposed to be the thing that satisfied me and the thing that told me that I was worthy. When those golden gates opened, there was my big head looking at me going, you're still a loser and you're never going to amount to anything. So that's when I turned to drugs and alcohol hard. You know, I'd always been like a drug addict and an alcoholic, but to, you know, a functioning level. And so then I, you know, to shut that voice up, it was drugs and alcohol to drown it out. And then I gave up. When I gave up in 2007 after a suicide attempt in Hong Kong, in a hotel room in Hong Kong, I'd given up. I'd had a stroke in 2013 at the Aussie Millions poker tournament. And ended up with locked-in syndrome. And so locked-in syndrome is where you can't move anything. The only thing that comes out of your mouth is dribble, but you can hear everything. So people would come up to me and go, Mike, are you all right? And then they'd turn to my mate and go, oh, he's fucked, isn't he? Look at him, you know, he's dribbling away there, he's fucked. So, and, you know, in my head I was going, even if I could talk to you, you loser, I wouldn't talk to you, you know. So I had this, and while I was in this thing, you get lots of time to think, you know, so I was
How long were you in that state?
About 4 hours.
Wow.
4 hours. So, you know, I heard the doctor say to my mate, your mate's had a stroke. We've got a drug that can save him, but it can also kill him. And my mate said, yep, give him the drug. He goes, I can't do that. Need his wife's permission or his family's permission. And he said, that's right. His wife's coming over. He goes, how long is she going to take to get here? He says, she's flying from New Zealand. She'll be here later on tonight. He goes, too late. You've got 4 hours to do this. And then if we can't get it in 4 hours, you know, and my mate said, so what happens? Well, sometimes they come out, other times they don't. And it was my mate who started screaming at me like the mad butcher, you know, come on, mate, come on, you know, and miraculously I came out. Wow. And the first thing I said when I could finally talk, it took me about an hour to actually formulate words. I mean, it's really weird because the only word that I could say when I came out was whanuapai. So the doctor would ask me, you know, what's your name? Whanuapai. And he'd look at my mate and go, is his name Whanuapai? And he'd go, no, his name's Mike. Oh, yeah. What's your wife's name? Whanuapai. Is his wife's name? No, her name's Rose. And it was an an Asian doctor with an Australian accent, which when you're in this state is real head fuck, you know. You know, what the hell's going on here?
Where am I?
Yeah. And he just turned to my mate and goes, oh, best I stop. I stopped asking him questions with 4-letter answers. I was like, so I finally came out, and the first thing the sentence that I was able to articulate was, give me the drug. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, I heard everything. Give me the drug. I don't care. Give me the fucking drug. And he said, okay, yep, we'll do that. We've got to give you a CAT scan first. They put me in the CAT scan machine. I was talking to this nurse, and suddenly I had another stroke in the machine. So I was back in that state again, and came out, and my mate said, the nurse said, your mate's had to the doctor, he's had another stroke. I don't think they use that word, but that's what he's had another stroke. I said, and so the doc said, oh shit, and we'll have to wait. And my mate said, wait for what? You got permission to give him the drug? Because in my head I'm going, just give me the fucking drug. And the guy said, I can't. He says, give him the fucking drug. I was here. So he gave it to me, and 6 hours later I was able to come good. But while I was there, see, it takes me a long while to get to a point.
That's all good.
Yeah, while I was there, I was thinking, I've got to make some changes here, and I'm not a religious man, but when you're fucked, you pray to anyone, right? I took out an insurance policy. I said, if you give me another shot at the title, I'm going to change, And I thought of all of the things that I could have done that I didn't do, and how I became obsessed with fame and fortune. And so when I came out, I decided I was going to give up drugs and alcohol. Now, at the time, I thought I'd given up for months, but the reality was I'd given up for maybe 2 weeks. And then I was in Hong Kong. So, by that I mean I came back, thought I was going to give up, and I didn't, and I carried on. And then
it's hard, eh?
Yeah. 2 weeks into March, I'd said that was it. And I owned a travel company at that stage, and, I used to take people over to sports events. And so I took a group over to the Hong Kong Sevens, which was usually just a Coke and piss-up, Coke Fest and piss-up. Yeah. So I got over there and decided I wasn't going to do it. And that was it. I'm done. So I used to drop the team off, my package off at the game. Yep. And then I would say, I'd fake a headache or illness, and then I took off, and I was walking down Wan Chai, and which is a part of Hong Kong, and Māori fella come up to me, he goes, hey bro, what are you doing here? I said, I'm at a tour group here, and he goes, should we go for a drink, bro? And I'm like, bro, I've given up. And he went, nah, bro, you've given up in New Zealand, bro. And I'm like, yeah, I have. And that little voice went, yeah, Mikey, we're back. And so I'm, after 3 days on a huge bender, where I was just sitting in my hotel room, I was kind of like what's the name from Scarface. I had a mountain of cocaine, and my plan was I'll just snort this OD, and then everyone would go, wow, my king's so cool, he went out ODing. I couldn't kill myself for that, or make it look obvious. And then while I was in that, my daughter, who was then 8 years old, came and sat on my chest and visited me and said, what are you doing? You got to come home. So I went home and got clean and sober, and then I was angry. I was just spending time at home. I wasn't going anywhere because I just had to get away from all my vices. See, I didn't realise when you give up drugs and alcohol, you don't give up drugs and alcohol, you give up your life and all the influence. All your mates go, oh, come on, Mikey, it's just us, bro. It's just us. Fuck, just fun. It's all good.
Peer pressure, man.
Oh, well, it's there and you want to. So I just cut myself off. And one day I got a job on radio, and, talkback host, never done that shit before, but I didn't think that was going to be hard. Pick a headline, talk about it, and fucking people ring in, and so, one night I went in there on the first night, and I was talking about, hey, I see interest rates are going up. If you're affected by interest rates, give us a call, 0800 465 0800 Radio Live. And then no one would ring, and I'd say, I've got so many people on the lines right now, but we'll get to them right after the break. Then I'd come after the break, still no one. And I'd go, hey, look, there's heaps of people want to talk about that, but I've seen something else in there in the paper. And, blah, give us a call, 0800 465 0800 nothing. I went through every subject, like if there's a plane crash on the other side. If you've been in a plane crash, give us a call. Turns out not many people get out of plane crashes. So,
Nobody called.
Yeah. There's a piece of paper blown down the road. If you got paper blown down the road, then we go to another ad, and my producer went, there's no more ads. And so I'm sitting there, I've got 30 minutes of airtime to fill. And so I just sitting there and, what I was saying to myself, one voice is saying, just swear. If you start swearing, people, they'll be complaining, but they'll be calling. Don't swear, just tell them the truth. Tell them there's no one there. Shut up. What are you... And then I just went, bugger it. So I just said, hey, I've been lying to you out there. There's no one on the lines. And if you don't call in the next 2 minutes, 10 seconds, someone's just going to start talking to the voices in my head. And that's what I did. The reason no one's calling is because everyone hates you. Oh, they don't hate you. They're having dinner. It's 10:30 at night. No one eats dinner at 10:30 at night. No one wants to talk to this loser. He's not a loser. Why do you always call Michael a loser? His name's Mike. Why do you always call him? And, I had my eyes closed. And I was just this verbal diarrhea.
You were talking live.
Yeah, verbal diarrhea. I was just saying what was going on. And my producer went, you better take the calls. And I looked down and I had a full board of lights. Yeah. First fellow ever rang me in. His name was Rangi. Yeah. He's a Māori fella called Rangi. I knew he was a Māori because his fucking name was Rangi. and I said, hey, bro, you're my first caller. Welcome to the show. I said, bro. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here, mate. I have those voices too. So it was like, suddenly another Māori male was saying that he has the same experiences as me. And it was just like this giant weight had lifted off my shoulders. And so we had a great conversation, me and Rangi, all 7 of us, his voices, my voices. And as we talked, it virtually gave permission to other people to talk. So what started out as a late night talk show, by Friday, the next day I came in, we can read headlines or we can talk about what we talked about last night. Bam. So by Friday, we were the Nutters Club, just nutty
That's
people.
Amazing, man.
Ringing in and talking.
But it's a lonely space, right? Because, we're all, our swim that we're doing in November, we're going to raise as many funds as we can for I Am Hope.
I love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. But Jim and I chat quite a bit, and there's a lot of stuff happening and it's amazing. Keep doing it for women, for children, for people with sicknesses.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff.
There is a huge. I'm not going to say battle, but there's a huge need out there for many very, very, very worthy organisations, and it's tough,
Yeah.
Since the government announced we Mike King got $24 million. Mike King didn't get $24 million. The Ministry of Health got $24 million. And they fund us, once a month. They give us a check, but all of that money goes to the counsellors. Yeah. So we don't take an admin fee. We don't take 1 cent of it. So I've got all of these bills to cover. I stupidly thought we were getting $24 million and I'll be able to put it in the bank and the interest rate would cover the rest of it. So, I've got my own costs to meet. But because everyone thinks we've got $24 million, people are donating to other worthy charities. And so in October last year, we had 19 staff. 8 of them have moved on to bigger and brighter things. And I'm not in a position to replace them. Yeah. We're at the moment we got more money going out than coming in, and we're very frugal about how we're a national organisation with 11 staff. Yep. So it's tough for everyone. I'm not complaining about it. It's just the reality, man.
Just the reality.
Yeah, just the reality. So you can sit around and whinge like a little bitch, or you can just get off your ass and make something happen. Yeah.
Have you tried phoning one of your call centres and having a complaint and see if they can help you with your problems?
So I really, really do try and not get resentful, and it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard. I mean, the reason I got into this charity was, once I got into it, I knew where the need was. I knew we could cover the need, and we could cover it cheaper than anybody else.
Yep.
Cheaper, faster, safer.
Clever Dicks is New Zealand's largest swim-focused podcast, and our team at SwimScapes is proud to be their official partner with all things swimming. SwimScapes offers boat piloting and safety for solo marathon swims, as well as various packages including marathon relay swims, swim camps, and swim adventure holidays. SwimScapes is also a facilitator of the Auckland Triple Crown, coming soon. Proudly brought to you by SwimScape.
And so I was hustling all the time trying to get the government to, or not the government, but the ministries to see the worth of what we're doing.
Yep.
And, they just made me run in circles and get more and more and more bitter. And then one day I just stopped and I went, just face the reality. You're never going to get funding. This is frustrating you. So stop throwing negatives at the problem and start throwing positives at the solution. The demand is there, the need is there, the people are there. Let's just go and try and do it and live off donations. And, when we started Gumboot Friday, we decided that 100% of the money was going to the counsellors. And that really resonated with ordinary New Zealanders, because we all wonder, every time you put that money or that dollar on, fucking how much is going to you and how much is going to that. Yeah. And you hear horrific statistics of certain charities taking 70% of the money for admin. I don't think it's true, but it's still there, and you can't.
It sits in people's minds and makes them more cautious about it.
So I thought, bugger it. And so we asked the New Zealand public, and, they believe in us so much. Over the next 3 years, they donated $15 million to I Am Hope to give to counsellors. And so,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and now the government's coming, the pendulum swung the other way, but that's okay. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, So eternally grateful to the ministry, and we're proving that, that we are delivering, before the government funded us, every week you would read a story about there aren't enough counsellors, and the Minister of Health would be there, it's a capacity issue, and it's a blah, 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 it's a blah, blah, blah. And, they asked me the other day, how do you know that this is successful? I go, well, there's no stories on shortages of counsellors. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, we're meeting the need on time, under budget. What else do you want, Yeah,
it's kind of like the whole... This is about mental health, but primary health care, whether it's mental or physical, if you do it really well, there's no stories because people aren't really getting, it's not getting bad and you're not getting the great stories because you kind of fix it almost as it's starting and you nip it in the bud, as it were. That's the way that I kind of think about a lot of this work.
So what I did was, I look for simple solutions to complicated problems. So, capacity was the issue. The minister would always go, we need 3,000 counsellors. There aren't 3,000 counsellors. We've got to train 3,000 counsellors. We've got to do this. Well, when we started Gumboot Friday and put it out there that we would pay the market rate, which is $150 an hour, or it was $135 back then, we'll pay the market rate, we're flooded with counsellors. So the issue to me wasn't there weren't enough counsellors. The issue was there weren't enough counsellors that were willing to work for $30 an hour and be overworked.
Yes.
So, but if you pay a counsellor what they're worth, so then I was a target because you're overpaying counsellors and you're making it impossible for us to recruit staff. And, that sounds like it's a reasonable argument until you look at it. So counselling services before this were run like taxi companies.
Yep.
So, you'd go in, you'd do the RFP, they'd pick 3 taxi companies, then you'd get a building, you'd put all your staff inside the building, then you'd go out and buy taxi ranks or lease taxi ranks, then you'd get the cars, and then you get the driver. Now, the driver's the counsellor. Now, if you want to get to that counsel or that taxi, you've got to go to the taxi rank and you have to take the first cab off the rank. You can't choose which. In mental health, that is like, but Daryl's my driver. Daryl knows my story. Yes, well, I've got your file. So it was this. It just created more and more anxiety. Now, the cost and the wait time on that. The wait time on that was for some people 6 months.
That's crazy.
To get the taxi that they want. And the actual cost, because it covers that whole infrastructure, is $485. Now think about it. You're paying the counsellor between $30 and $60 an hour. So where's the other $425 going? It's going on admin.
Yeah.
We invented Uber. You take care of your own costs. You have your own car. You have your own office. You just charge me an hourly rate. And at that stage, it was $135. So we were saving $350. $350 a counselling session. So it's finding unique solutions to complex problems.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I try and do is I try and inform people about, how simple certain things are. For example, if you asked me, say, and I worked for, in the traditional service, say, so Mike, why do people get suicidal? Why are they killing them? And I'd say, well, that's a very complex question, you see, because there's so many different reasons. It can be this, it can be that, it can be all. And so, we try not to talk about this. So, and I don't mean this in a cruel way, but it's like they're saying, look, it's a very complex issue. It's very dangerous to talk about. So leave it to the experts. We're the experts. So it's about controlling the narratives. It sounds harsh, but you know what I mean. Yes. So what I discovered was when I would do my talks and talking about self-doubt, and I would talk about, my suicide ideation and what was driving me, people would come to my talks and go, my son took his own life 2 years ago, and his suicide letter is everything you just said. And then they would show me, everything you've described was my son. And so, I looked at what I was describing. What I discovered was there were 3 reasons that people took their own lives. Only 3. 1, I'm hurting. I'm in pain and I need the pain to stop. Now, for an old person, that could be physical pain. You've seen old people suffering and just going...
Oh, look at Jim at the moment.
Look, I just want out of here. So 1, I'm hurting. I don't want to die. I just want my pain to end.
Yeah.
For young people, it's, it could be a relationship, it could be whatever it is, right? Yeah. So 1, I'm hurting. 2, I'm causing hurt. Like, this is going on for so long. I feel like I'm a burden to everyone, and everyone will be better off without me. I walk into rooms, I suck the energy from the room. My friends, I think they're looking at me like, So if I got out of the way, you guys would all have a better life. So 1, I'm hurting. 2, I'm causing hurt. 3, I want to cause hurt. You hurt me, now I'm going to hurt you. So at the heart of all suicide ideation is just people who are hurting. They're not drama queens. They're not attention seekers. They're not selfish. Not all the labels they're just people who are hurting and they want the hurt to end. So our job as a society is to put aside all of our prejudiced thoughts and just carry this person for as long as we can until we can do something about that hurt. Now, it's not going to work with everyone, but at least if you have an understanding. Because, if you continue to come to me with your issues, then I'll start blaming myself. And if I say to you, what's wrong? I don't know. It must be me. It must be me. So, and then you either get down on yourself or you get hurt and you get resentful, which creates, I've tried everything and, this bastard and da-da, so it's this giant circle. You've got your self-doubt, my self-doubt. We're all blaming each other, and it's horrible. But if you have an understanding, so you can remove yourself from what you think it is and listen and try and get people to a better place. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but no one was talking about it. So then I did a study. It's called 1,000 Letters. So anyone who's listening, go online, just 1,000 Letters, Mike King. And the criticism that I got from Ashley Bloomfield, from the ethics committee, you're not qualified to do this, and this is a complex thing, and people will die if you start meddling. And well, I had 2 researchers that work for the Ministry of Health do it for me. I wasn't doing it. I'm a dumbass, but I had 2 experts do it. And what we found was amazing. It went against the narrative that's always pushed. So the narrative that's always pushed on suicide is suicide is an impulsive act. It's based around impulsivity, at the last minute. So when the numbers come down, they go, well, the numbers have come down. They're not where they should be. But you can see, we're doing our best, and the numbers are, and then when they go up, well, if someone wants to take their own life, you see, there's nothing you can really do about it. So one of the first discoveries we found was over 90% of the people, and these people had ended their lives. So these letters that came in, they were actual people who had ended their lives. Over 90% of those people had long-term issues, even if their deaths came as a surprise to those closest to them. And we're not talking weeks and months. In some cases, we're talking years and decades.
Yeah.
There's always this feeling that when you lose someone, maybe if I'd loved them more, maybe if I'd done this, maybe I'd done that. Second thing, over 90% of the people who took knew that they were loved, and they loved back. But that was, for a lot of them, was a burden. It's kind of like, oh my God, I can't keep putting these people through it. So it had nothing to do about love, and people who submitted the letters and saw that and saw all the other evidence, it was a huge relief to them, because when someone dies close to you, you can't help but blame yourself, and you can't help but think everyone else is blaming you. And the thing that really, really struck me was number 3. In over the majority of the cases where people died, took their own lives, they didn't want to die. They just wanted their pain to end, and they thought that there was no end in sight. And what happened to that? It was squashed. The whole Ashley Bloomfield refused to read it, said it was dangerous, and he was never going to read it. And it was just like, I was so disappointed for the New Zealand public, because it was an opportunity to get,
changing the story a little bit.
Change the narrative, and just helping people to understand this is why. And, so when you say this, you're just lumping more shit on, You're
the more empathy you've got out there, the better it's going to be.
But also break it down into simpler understanding, right? We don't all need a big thesis and 400 doctors telling us what to do.
Everything is simple, brother. So what's the big story at the moment? The police aren't going out to mental health calls anymore, so everyone's having a go at the police. You should be doing this and you should be doing that, right? That's, why have the police stopped doing this? Because they're not trained for it, numbnuts. Yeah. Oh, we've got to train police to be in this, and we've got to train more people to train the people. The solution's simple. We've got a crisis mental health team that work at every DHB who refuse to go out when someone's in trouble, if they've been drinking, if they're at risk, if they're violent, blah, 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 because they're concerned about safety. Well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Why not put half of them in the police station?
Yeah.
Now the police can do their job, and the health workers can do their job.
On site, hand in hand, partnership.
Yeah, so, hey, Joe, I'm coming now. I'll have a couple of policemen with me. They're my friends. They're just my taxi. They're not going to get involved. I'll introduce you to them. They're lovely guys, but I'm coming to specifically...
I think you're so good. My daughter is a paramedic over in the UK, and she was part of a trial that they ran where they would have 2 policemen and a paramedic on call all the time.
Yeah.
And it was great because they would go along to domestic violence and all kinds of things like that. They shut the whole project down because they couldn't justify it. But I tell you, she said she got great relationships with these police police guys, and as a team, they could do more than they could ever do on their own.
It's so it's such a simple
so you add
solution.
a mental health specialist into that.
Where's the cost? There is no cost. You're already paying that dude. You're already paying these dudes.
Listen, I just reckon if you can make those cops swim a marathon swim, then the problems are all solved. All right. If you can make them swim, get people out there swimming, looking after them. And
Glenn Osborne, if you are listening, you're a great All Black, but I've seen your feet, bro. I've seen your feet. You can do this, brother.
Hey, two things from my side, and then I'm going to keep quiet and give your day back. One is, do you still haul ass around town on that little Vespa?
Of course.
Yeah, with the music blaring.
Yes, of course. So I don't do the electric around the city.
Yep.
Simply because the battery life, on a normal sized human, you get 120
Not
kilometers.
a heavy bone swimmer.
Yeah, 40. It taps out at 40 with me. So I have another bike on my 50cc scooter that I rode from Bluff to Cape Rehanga.
Yep.
I ride around on that.
Nice.
And I love it. So I live out in Papatoetoe in South Auckland.
Yep.
To come into the city in the morning by car, it's 90 minutes. On my 50cc, it is 27 minutes from Papatoetoe to here.
Legend.
Yeah, so I love that.
Last
Next
thing,
question.
you got to repeat after me as quickly as possible. No thinking. I'm Mike King.
I'm Mike King.
I'm going to see you on the 29th of November.
Let me have a look at my diary. It's the 29th
of November.
Look, you can see me right now. I'm going down to the 29th.
I'm going to swim with you or
there.
just sit on the beach. You're
And I am going to,
Hey!
I am going to see you on the 29th of November at
Waiheke Beach.
Waiheke Beach. 12 by 1 mile.
How do you spell that?
Waiheke.
Waiheke, because it sounds like Waiheke.
Yeah.
So it's Waiheke, it's Heke without the H.
Okay, Jim's got
what
us.
time are we going to kick off?
Registration at 6 a.m. First swim at 7, but you can come at 7 or 11. It doesn't matter when you come. Anytime
So how
in the
long
day.
will we be there? For 12 hours, will we?
12 hours.
From 7 till 7.
Yep.
Yes, okay, I promise I will come.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Wetsuits are allowed.
And I can't swim without a wetsuit or
Fins
flippers.
are allowed,
My
yeah.
one doesn't have to count.
No,
But
it
I
will
will
count.
be there, and I will do it. I remember funny story, right? So I did that swim across the under the harbour bridge.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I never thought in a million years that I was going to do that. Right.
That's a tough swim.
But Jonesy and them got me out there. It was chop. And I'm sitting there, and I love how they do it, slow swimmers, fast swimmers, all of that, right?
Different colour caps.
Yeah, different colour caps. So, I was down there, and I was shitting myself, right? So, people were coming past me, you're going to wear your flippers down, mate? Yeah, I'm going to wear my flippers, dickhead. Of course, I don't care what you think. I'm wearing my flippers. No, it's good. So anyway, I'm sitting there, I'm putting my flippers on, and the lady came down and sat next to me, and she goes, "You look nervous." I go, "I am crapping myself. I've never done this before." She goes, "Look, I know how you feel, but you can do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, lady. You're a swimmer. I'm not a swimmer." Then she took off her leg, passed it to her husband, and jumped in with one leg. I thought, fuck, I've got to go now. And she beat me, but I was just like the difference and, the different challenges for different people. But she inspired me to do that. And then I got under the bridge. I got to Fisherman's Wharf. I did the 2K, the long one. And then I was swimming, and I got under the bridge as I was coming back, and I went, woohoo! And I put my arm up. And of course, everyone comes paddling over, and they're like, I was celebrating, sorry. You don't put your, sorry.
Came to save you.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, again, and you get this wonderful, sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
for someone like me to do something like that, and still to this day, I'm like, when I'm going over the bridge with wife, oh yeah, swam across there, babe, swam across there, I don't want to talk about it, of course we're swimming against the tide, and there was 9-meter waves,
sharks.
I just glided through, babe, glided through.
No lifeguards needed.
Oh, wonderful, yeah.
Yep, so I'd love to see you 29th at Waiheke Beach, 29th of November. Registration 6 a.m. So what do people have to bring? Do they bring money? Do they bring...
So we have a Give a Little page that's been set up, which I have shared the link of on our Instagram account, and it's also on our website, swimscape.co.nz. And we are just accepting all donations that go directly through to you guys. There is a small entry fee that helps us cover the costs of lifeguards and all of those good things on the day. We will have a couple of gazebos there. We'll have a braai, not a barbecue.
I love a braai. I love a good braai.
Some boerewors.
Had my first braai at Port Elizabeth.
Nice.
In South Africa with Barry Hilton.
Oh,
My cousin.
My cousin from another mother.
Yeah. Me and Baz, who's had mental health issues himself of late. So, he's a good bugger.
He's a legend, man.
Yeah. So me and Baz, so I know what a braai is. I'm looking forward to that. Now, I have one request from you. I'll need to start training for this in August.
Yep.
So at Newmarket Pool.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to come training, the bro here is going to give me a reminder.
Yep.
3 days a week.
I'm the bro, just for reference.
Yeah. And let's if you want to come down and start training, particularly those who don't swim. I'm definitely not going to shame you. Bring your flippers along and bring your little wee wetsuit pants, and let's get down there and let's get into it.
Chuck into the pool. I'm happy to throw in a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon as well at an ocean, and we can get a couple of coaches involved.
I swam to A-Boy from Takapuna a couple of times. That was a great swim. Swam there, and then Rick Wells would swim basically to Rangitoto and back and just meet me, at different various points. But that was a great swim.
We'll get him involved as well, right? He's always...
So, do come along. I'll invite you. The bro will let you all know.
Voice Rolls and Mike King.
Love you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a great interview.
Your time.
Of all the podcasters that I've ever done podcasts with, you guys are the best in the country.
Thank you.
You're no good in the city, but in the country, you rock and roll.
Hi, my name is Caitlin O'Reilly. I'm the youngest person to have completed the Ocean 7 Challenge. If this really cool podcast has helped you learn something new, maybe it's introduced you to new swimmers, made you smile, then please take the opportunity to subscribe to Duncan and Jim's channel. I'm sure they would absolutely appreciate all your support. Cheers.
Thanks, Caitlin. Well, as always, you can give us feedback on our Instagram account at cleverdix, or send us an email, cleverdixnz@gmail.com. We'd really appreciate hearing from you. And cheers. We'll speak to you again soon.